So this is inspired by Markiplier's video titled like watch this when you're down or if you're down, I don't know. I think I've watched that video of his, at some point, but because I've tried so many times to record what I feel and how I am and all that crap, and it gets very, very painful for me, and very confusing sometimes, and just very hurtful for my soul. So I guess in this sort of recording I'll try to just not talk about, but this time let's try to encourage ourselves in a way, I guess. I don't know. Because I tried a lot of ways, I tried making a recording kind of talking about and specifically focusing on what I think I did wrong. Then there's another audio of what I think other people have done wrong. And another audio is just shitting on myself. And another audio just shitting on purely someone else. And, just to see if it works. And every single one of those, how you're like suffering from this thing where you think about something and immediately there's some thought just burrowing and edgewise, trying to tell you that it's not true. Like how you start to say, when I was younger, this and this happened that caused me to be so catatonically depressed now. And then immediately there's a very pernicious thought process that just wedges in right after you think that says, oh, aren't you just something, huh? Now you're trying to philosophize your fucking faults away. Good job, Lorenzo. Good job. You think you're so smart, just shifting blame now, huh? And this is the thought process, and that is why it's so hard to do, even the recording. And it's funny too, because the recordings that I try to talk about things were to kind of like vent in a way, and to kind of like make me bring subconscious things to light, and kind of like process and kind of do a discussion with myself, because again, no one will hear this, and probably for a therapist and all that, well, not probably, they cost a ton, and I'm broke as fuck right now and starving. So let's just talk about this. Not about this, but I tried so many techniques too. You stand in front of a mirror, kind of like complimenting yourself every single day, and then when that doesn't work, you kind of berate yourself, and that doesn't work. You tried a lot of things, and when I say you, I say me. So, to get into it, let's just talk about this, like in another way. Maybe encourage ourselves in the way that Markiplier does it. So it's like, try to speak of it as if you're talking to someone else, right? So watch this or listen to this when you're down. Whoop, I'm getting chills again, which happens a lot. So, if I were to say something to someone very similar to myself, I'm probably going to cry through this again because I'm sensitive as fuck for no reason, probably. So, yeah, here it comes. Fuck. Sorry. I know you're very confused. and you feel very hurt, no matter whose fault this is in the end, and you know this. You just feel hurt. And I know you feel confused because if it's your fault and you feel hurt, you're spoiled and entitled. But if it's some other people that hurt you that make you feel hurt, you know you spent decades, just literal decades, trying to make them happy in a way, and it's not even like a very conscious thing that you directly, actively wanted to do. But it's just that if that someone is happy, you wouldn't be feeling the hurt, and they will not giving you shit that makes you feel the hurt. And even if they hurt you, there's another thought process that comes in, which is they come from a different time. Maybe there's a culture clash and all that, which there is, I think. And they probably didn't mean it, or they probably, this is very, I believe this wholeheartedly, is that they come from a different time, different place, different sort of upbringing, different sort of experiences to be who they are today. And I say that is because of the age-old thing issue, where older people don't understand that, words have consequences in a way, and that mental health, and I hate to use that word, that term, and depression, and I hate to use that word because it's so medicalized nowadays, that those things exist. And so they interact with you in a way that is almost, in hindsight, almost like a machine. If you're not doing this, you're fucking up. If you're not doing that, why aren't you? And if you're failing to do that, it must be, you're not doing enough, which is, again, logically true. That is why it's like a machine. But what about the emotions behind it? And I know when you're older, emotions aren't really a thing talked about, and at least it's supposed to be something that's arranged and done with and processed duly and well developed as you were growing up, and I get that. And you see how this really takes a toll on your mental energy. It makes you very tired. I know you feel like you'd rather have your parents beat you up every day, because at least that will be a sure, clear, cocksure sign that they're bad people, and in that way you build up motivation and actually put your ass to work and leave. And that is very similar, I think, to the trauma that our parents faced, which was poverty. It was direct. At least it was direct, At least it was direct, it was clear-cut, and they had the motivation to just work their ass off and, leave that financial bracket. Like, credit where credit is due. But at least that sort of trauma is direct and forefront. And at least, that your sort of what you're going through, they say it's nothing. Or they say, oh, oops, sorry, mistake. Oh, we're not perfect. But in the end, it all adds up. And I know you feel like your head is very fucked right now, which is, I understand, because you have to rationalize within your head those angry, berating voices. And it's not even voices, I don't want to sound like I'm crazy, but it's like intrusive thoughts that has been ingrained into you, that has been said to you over and over, and now it's playing in your head like a broken record. And you have to fight those thoughts every single day before you even have the energy to get up in the morning. Which is to say that you've out of energy to even fight to get up in the morning. And all your parents see, all your peers see, is that you're lazy. You're finding excuses. And you get all the NPC answers when you talk to them. Because, like it or not, they're your family. And they're the only support system you have. Because, ta-da, when you're younger, they don't permit you to go outside. You're locked in the house after school. Or you go to tuition classes. And that was your life. And I think of all the things you can be angry about, if there's anything let's just put it this way, if there's nothing you can be angry about, at least you can be sure about this, because I know there's a gray area in everything, and even if it's not, you tend to make a lot of gray areas because you tend to say, you know what, you know where they come from. I know you're an empathetic person in that way, where you can kind of put yourself in other people's shoes and see where they're coming from, and see why they're frustrated and all that, and see why they're saying it to you, and see how they're ignorant probably in some areas, and that is why, you don't blame them. But at the same time, you cannot deny that you were hurt. I don't know where I was, but if there's nothing else you're sure of, at least you're sure of this, is that all your life, all you've been directed to do was to study and nothing else but study, and allowed pretty much nothing for yourself but study. And in the end, your timid self became even more socially awkward. And suddenly when you come out, you're expected to connect with the highest order of people. You're expected to just go into the workforce with no, A-OK. You suddenly are expected to just talk to people and be, comfortable with things. While all they taught you about talking to people was just to keep all smiles, bend yourself backwards, and don't make it awkward by agreeing to everything, which is tiring to your personality, because you're not that sort of guy. You know you're not that sort of guy. You're just straight ahead, you don't compromise, which is what this culture teaches you. And I get that. And making people happy gets you places, and that's the culture. And in the end, you didn't get to keep any of your individuality and understand so much where they're coming from. But at the same time, I know you feel so cheated out of life in a way, and you feel angry in a way that why do you have to be born in a household where creativity is not allowed? Entertainment was not allowed, and that was your life. I know you were such a creative prodigy that you stopped it just because you couldn't handle, it anymore. You just thought that if this was just gone, everything would be so much better. Your passion, your heart. And you actually killed it, literally, I guess. You killed it by, not many people can do what you did. and you killed the very thing that made you alive. And you thought, I killed that thing, I can focus now, I can be better at studying. And guess what? From an A to F for a long time, and finally, after at least 10 long years, you picked yourself back up a bit, and you managed to slowly pass. While all the while lying on your bed, not understanding why you couldn't get up. And all the while having people putting more rocks on you while you're trying to get up by telling you, why are you not getting up? Why are you so lazy? Why are you not doing enough? From people who do not understand. And what they do understand is that you have no reason to feel what you're feeling. You have no reason. You have no right to be unhappy. And their take on what you're going through was, you know what? Why are you stressed all the time? You can basically where they're coming from is that you choose to feel stress. And to a certain extent that is true, but only if you've duly processed whatever emotions that made you stressed in the first place. And then, I think, is where this sort of saying makes sense. Practical sense, right? And they'll say, like, there's a very good line where they say, children in Africa are literally starving and dying to be in your position right now. And they'll say things like, either that or we went through so much harder, or so many people are going through so much harder than you, and you're now here complaining. I didn't complain. I just felt sad. And I felt, that was all I understood that time, was that I was sad, And to be fair, you didn't know what was happening to you, but you trudged through anyway. And all the damn time you had to stand on eggshells. And again, it's not like your parents were like super abusive parents, but somewhere at the recesses of the back of your mind, you do wonder if you were treated differently. Because every time, it seems like they release a lot of scorn and negativity easier and more readily to you than your siblings. Well, the elder one, to be fair, the elder one finally achieved the ultimate, Asian dream. And that was why probably they have no ground to stand on in order to criticize her or to, talk down to her or berate her anymore. Well, I'm this loser that they can just kick on. No, you don't think that. You just think that you're just this loser and you are this lazy bum, and that is why, you deserve to be talked down to, you deserve to be berated, you deserve to be scolded at. So until you find a job and until you, pull yourself back together or whatnot, that is where and that is when it will stop. But of course we all know where you are right now, catatonically depressed for 2 years. With them just with piercing and scathing words at your back all the damn time that finally, last year, you finally, at some point in your conversation with your father just but just thought, enough. And at a certain point you actually cut them off from communicating with you. Granted, you're still financially dependent on them, and that was very hard for you. And I know people would be like in the sidelines say, "What?" And I know you still shit on yourself because of that, because you know how it will look to people outside. And it's hard, even though you keep doing this over and over, speaking to yourself on purely what it is your fault, or purely what it is on others' fault, and just focusing on a theme. And you find that it is inevitable that you bring this perspective of what other people will see, because in the end, what other people see is what what people perceive you to be. Like, if you're not a bad person, but an employer perceives you to be a bad person, you might get fired, or you might not get hired. And that's just like a very harsh reality, whether you want to exclude it or not, you know. Some people get into trouble just by being themselves, and they're not even bad people. And some people get killed, like homosexuals. That's a very raw and visceral example, I think. A very, when you think about people being hurt by being themselves, that is the first thing that comes to mind. And so now, I know you feel like you have no hope, because you're lying there. You're not creative anymore. And the thing that you studied wasn't what you liked. And I know you're strong like that, because even though that is not something that you're passionate about, you went through with it anyway. And you succeeded in obtaining a license, but then you went through another huge obstacle in which your self-worth is non-existent, is existing only in negative space. And you realized that you're really kind of spent. And you realize at this point you have no friends, partly due to the fact that you have conditioned yourself to be comfortable without friends, because, again, you kind of accepted this from a young age. You're timid, you're socially awkward, you're not allowed to even, for the most part, attend birthday parties or socialize or do normal things a child or teenager will do anyway. So from a very young age, you kind of conditioned yourself to be okay being alone. And to be fair, you still feel that way, and I get it. But your self-worth is error 404, is nowhere to be found. And it's such a pernicious thing, that is. You actually want to do something and something just pulls you right back. And it's not something that can be explained fully or satisfactorily without actually experiencing it. It's just like abuse or domestic violence sort of environment where people can just say, "Why don't you get out?" First of all, it's more dangerous for you to get out sometimes than it is to stay in, because they might get killed or get hurt. But most importantly, let's just talk about the dynamic of what makes them stay. I think it's quite similar. to the worthlessness that you feel that holds you back. It's an anticipation in a way, but also at the same time it's like a not an anticipation thing. I don't know how to explain it. You just feel so worthless that nobody would want you, and even you actually thought of this and rationalized and discussed this with yourself, where, you know what, it doesn't matter what people feel. And it still didn't work because when you got interviews, you self-sabotaged. Because of just how low confidence that you are. And you're just so done feeling that way. And sometimes things pass by as if it takes forever. And then when you just blink your eyes for a second, 2 years has gone by. And you wonder if you're so stubborn and vindictive to not let these emotions go so that you can continue being lazy. And that is what you tell yourself. And I know that. If I were to compliment you on anything, I won't even call it bravery, because it was sort of a desperation move on you to just cut off hearing your parents' voice for years because you just couldn't stand it anymore. And you have the courage to keep... Oh my god, when you talk about it like this. You had the courage to dive deep in yourself and reopen the wound again and again and again and again in order to determine what's wrong or what's up. And it might not have been something that worked out all of the time, or most of the time actually, but you tried your damnedest alone. And all your life you have been alone with this. Because even someone in the same generation as you, your fucking elder sister, who's supposed to be on your side. And to be fair, she's in a different environment. She has friends. She's rebellious and she got her way. And you tried to be the perfect, the better. Not perfect, but you tried to be whatever they want you to be. You wanted to make people happy. And that's all you wanted to do. When you're younger. And when you're older, it seems like it never really went away. Did it? All you wanted was a life for yourself, and I know you struggle being independent. You do. There's something holding you back. And most of all, your self-worth is in the toilet. I don't know the full extent of where it got you there. Maybe I do know. It's just... I think it will be a farce and a bit stretching it to say that you're courageous. I actually think you're kind of cowardly. But I also think that it's a survival mechanism, you know? And I commend you, and I don't know why this comes to my head, it might sound very fucking stupid later, but I think I commend you for being sensitive even though that's the thing that got you here in the first place. You have the courage to be living this long, I think. And you had the courage to just go through everything yourself. Even though that you're totally not prepared to be independent in the first place. Like, these households, these cultures, they expect you to study, let's say, 0 to maybe 5 years old to 18 or even beyond that. And suddenly, whoop-de-doo, you're out on your own, skibbity-hop, and suddenly you should know everything and anything to do with life. Because you go to school. And even my mother would say that, oh, this person is so and so, is so disrespectful, is so rude, because this person has not gone to school or has not done well in school, as if manners is not something that's learned from home instead of school. I think you're cowardly, I do. And I think you're probably a bit stubborn. Maybe you're prideful. I don't know. Maybe there's some things that you don't see thanks to pride. But if I were to commend you on anything, I used to be empty when I come to this part, sort of. I think, you know what, based on Bill and Luba, the elderly couple you helped for no fucking reason, other than they're elderly, And you actually, for the first time in your life, you just walked up to a stranger and say, I want to help you. That took balls. I'm sorry, but that took... And they show you how people actually want to hang out with them. People actually want to visit their parents. And that blew your fucking mind. You went there every single week, every Sunday. And people recognize you and they smile at you like you were worth the damn. And perhaps it was selfish. Perhaps it was so, because people said that, in order to feel better, feel more gratitude. Do more charitable things. I knew I had it in me all along. And that helped nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then imagine you going to a job interview and they say, "What did you do with your life?" And it felt so wrong to even say that, "You know what? I helped this couple out." And suddenly charity doesn't seem so much like charity anymore. And suddenly charity seems like a waste of your life because it doesn't bring you a job. It doesn't bring you cash. It doesn't bring you money. It doesn't bring you survivability that you have need to get away from the abusive household that you hailed from. And then you think of that way and you feel like a fucking scumbag. If I were to commend you, my dear, if I were to commend you anything more, and it makes me like, it really does make me think hard, especially if I were to see myself as another person. If I were to commend you, I would commend you for being the best person you could be despite the circumstances, despite your flaws. And granted, maybe because of the upbringing that you received, because of the effect it had on you, it becomes like a second nature for you to like almost act like you want to please somebody, and I get it. Or conform. And to be fair, perhaps that is something that's needed anyway. But if I were to commend you, I would say, you did your best and everyone, I would bet, would say that you're such, like, so-and-so was such a good person, was so sweet, or such an angel. I've gotten that sometimes. And you did your best to be the best person for someone else all your life. And you don't know what it is. Like, you don't know how to be angry because of how much you give yourself to others since before you even know who you are, I think. And that's precisely the reason that you don't know who you are. And it's fine. I know it's not fine. And you'd rather think about death than confront people who hurt you. Oh God. And that's stupid, and to some people it might even sound infuriating. And then right, it's in their right to do so. But as I look at this screen in front of me, this black screen, I almost don't recognize this person. I really do not. We used to be so happy. And then when learning became grades, and your worth became the grades, and you see the people in your town looking at you with these eyes, this side eye, and talking about you. And to be fair, from a young age, I commend myself for trying so hard to numb myself. To do all kinds of psychological tricks on myself in order to block things out before I even knew what they were. for not killing yourself the first time you realize that. So this is what real love is like. I'm not going to ever get it from my family. And not the time anyway, and I know in a way that they love me. But again, they hail from a different time, just like perhaps baby boomers with their parents. Young people don't just run out of a secure family to go form a flower power hippie commune somewhere if their house, their family, their household is alive and well and fulfilling in the first place. And that's all I'll say on that. You know, if there's anything like strong is probably the last thing I'll use to describe myself, but I think I'm strong for going through this alone. And all the way while being berated for like, you know what's the worst things to say to someone with, I don't know, I hate to say this word, but depression? Is to say that you're lazy, you're worthless, why aren't you doing more? It's precisely because of this that I could be doing more. Something like that. You're strong for going through this, despite being accused of things that were like the most opposite thing that's supposed to be accused of you. Anyway, you're a strong person. You went through a lot. And they might be subtle. They might be, but things add up. And I know it's like a mind fuck. I know it is. And that is why it's so hard for you to process things normally. Because every turn, everywhere that you turn, every conclusion that you seem to almost make, suddenly it's like, wait, but there's the other side. But you know, they didn't mean it. Or, you know what, they come from a time where they don't know. And you're in a way strong for trying to fight for people. Even though they don't even know they're fighting it. Like, even if they don't know to fight it for themselves, you know? If I were to commend you, I think you're strong because you're just so alone with this. You're so alone and it's all fine and dandy. All you needed, or all you really literally needed was just one iota of support. And you didn't get that. You did not. And it's you. It was you. Oh shit, it was you who had to provide that support to someone else going through the similar thing in the first place, that you finally started on this journey. Why can't you stop helping people? Fuck. It is you who tried to provide the support to your cousin in the first place, that you finally realize that maybe my life, I'm not as, entitled or spoiled as I think I am. Maybe there's something behind that, of all these anguish and self-worth issues. I commend you for being kind all your life. And this is something that is echoed throughout, relatives, friends, even parents who actively try to suppress that because they're afraid that you're going to be taken advantage of. Which is, again, shit execution. but good intentions. And this is why I think you have always held back of anything that you wanted, because good intentions. And it is lately that you only realize lately that the road to hell is paved with many a good intention. That is the saying. And even that hasn't sunk in yet, right? I know how it feels like, and it feels shitty. I'm sorry for that. I commend you for sticking to your guns at saying, like, you know what? I really cannot deal with my parents. Stop, stop, stop. And you stopped it. Because you know it is such a taboo for people like us and cultures like us. I get that. You're not alone. And I know that doesn't make you feel better, because alone or not, you're still with this anguish. I'm sorry you feel that way, hon. I really am. I really feel so sorry for you. But bro, you went through this far, you know? And I know you think that one day when you cried enough, that rock in your chest and your heart will finally lift and you can start to look for jobs and all that. I don't know if it works that way, but I want to wish you all the luck in the world. Because God knows it is not easy. I commend you for coming this far, if it means anything at all. I want you to know that not all hope is lost. And I know it is lately that you think the exact opposite. And the anticipation and the hope has killed you inside for so many years, and I get that. I'm sorry for that. Again, you're in survival mode, and that is why I do not blame you when your visa is almost up and you don't know how to explain 2 years of unemployment, and you don't know, what to do. Whether you go back to the abusive household you hailed from. I say abusive, but it's actually not, I think. It's actually a culture clash. I'm not sure. So, I want you to know that I love you very much. After crying it out, finally, for some goddamn reason, I can say it to you with conviction, with confidence. You're a good person. You have flaws, some caused by others, some may be yours. You're just so... When I look at you now, from top down, I really feel sad for you. I do. I really do. And I can get the frustration, if you're just so alone with your thoughts and you don't seem to be doing anything physically. You will be fine. I can only hope it is, but you're lovable, dude. Sometimes your timidness and can get a bit annoying. But that's just you, isn't it? Doing your best to be the best that you can be, whether it be at the moment the best of what people would think or want you to be, that's fine too for the moment. But if I want to commend you on anything, is that you suffered through all these physical, mental pains, all the while trying to heal it while people are just stabbing left and right with words with you. And finally, you even fell sick because you literally was so sad that you fell sick. The hell, I guess in a very cringy way, I would describe you as having so much capacity of hope for love within you that you wish that would change in a way, and it's not even a wish, You just don't want people to you just want people to treat you better. And is that a sin? I'm sorry things went over this way. I really am. Maybe tomorrow we'll find a bit of strength to go out and find a job. Maybe. But for now, enjoy your day, please. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope I have enough in me to listen back to this one and just say, you know what? Your life might have been a mess, but you did what you think was wrong, you thought was right. You did right by whatever you stand for, Well, some more dubious than others, but I really think that you did your best with what was given. And it sounds so stupid because there might be some kind of flaw and some kind of scumbag move that I did or scumbag trait that I have. That I just cried it all out and suddenly you can't criticize me anymore because this is like this holy grail moment. But maybe listening back I'll find some point of my personality or some place and time that I'm a scumbag somehow. That'll be interesting, won't it? Okay, so here's the recording. I bid you farewell for now. Remember, you are a strong person. If you're not strong, you will not be here right now. Alright? Now eat something good and forget all this happened.